Yeah, this is you. You're feeling hopeless because you forgot the same word yet again, or forgot how to read a kanji even though you maybe knew the meaning of the kanji. I know that feeling. I've felt it before too. Sometimes you might even feel like a failure or even stupid because you think it's a simple word or it should be easy to remember. It's understandable to feel that way sometimes. Learning a language takes commitment and time, and it's completely normal to stumble every now and then. But something really important to remember is that forgetting is part of the learning process. You're not failing, you're learning. Remember, the master has forgotten more than the student has learned. So let's take a step back to before you started studying Japanese, before you decided, I'm going to study. You couldn't read anything. You probably struggled to learn even like the simple words, maybe like ohayo gozaimasu, right? But you learned it. And maybe you're at a point where it doesn't feel unfamiliar at all. And if that's so, great. Just keep doing that with the rest of the words and you'll be fluent in no time. But remember the journey it took to remember that word. You probably learned it and then maybe repeated it to yourself a few times, maybe silently. And then, maybe tomorrow comes around and you forgot the word. It's okay. So what did you do? Well, you looked it up again. And maybe while you were looking it up, it was kind of on the tip of your tongue. You almost knew it, but you kind of didn't. What was it again? And that's because knowing something is much, much more than black and white, yes or no. And this is more than just language learning. If you've had anything on the tip of your tongue before, you know this is true, because having something on the tip of your tongue means that you're maybe momentarily forgetting it, or maybe you almost know it, but you just can't recall it right now, which is really interesting because your ability to recall things as a human is just extremely variable. Maybe you're just tired, you would have remembered it if you got more sleep, or even if you saw it in a different context. And don't underestimate context. Seeing a word for the first time outside of your study environment, especially if you just learned it recently, makes recalling it a lot harder. And that's normal, that's okay. That's because you've had the study environment kind of scaffolding and supporting you and helping you, right? If you did see that word in your study environment, maybe you would have recalled it even just a little bit better. Maybe you would have recalled it completely, who knows? And if you're just learning words without context, I kind of understand why you might feel hopeless or even stupid, because you're playing on hard mode. Don't study just words. Please, if there's anything you take from this video, don't study only words and then English and then Japanese word, English word, Japanese word, English word on whatever flashcards or whatever, anything you're doing. You need context on all of your sentences. Sure, baseline sentence context, that's great. If you can get situational context along with sentences, that's fantastic. That's what I do and what I recommend to everyone, because English and Japanese do not translate one-to-one. You can't just look up a Japanese word and then see the English translation and understand it. The languages just aren't close enough for us to do that. But given context and situational context, we can start to understand how this word is actually used and when we should be using it in order to sound natural and just good with our Japanese. If you want to use what I use, then I recommend Native Shark. So there's a link in the description, gets you an extended free trial, and the first 50 people who purchase a yearly sub will get $60 off their sub every year. Also, it helps support my channel. Anyway, stop playing on hard mode, study in context. You're going to be a lot better off. And don't worry, you're going to learn all this stuff with time and patience. You're going to get there. All you need to do is not give up. That's the most important thing. Enjoy the experience of language learning. Yeah, there's some tough times sometimes, but there's lots of joys with it too, for sure, right? You can talk to new people. You can experience stuff in ways you could never experience it. Your brain even has to think in ways you've never thought before. It's really fun, especially with English and Japanese, because they're so different, right? It's so much fun. I love it. And if you ever feel discouraged, just kind of think about your ability a few months ago or half a year ago, Pick up a book, pick up a video game that you dropped because it was too tough or you just weren't feeling it at the time. Go back and look at it. It's probably going to be a lot easier. It might not be easy, but it'll be easier. Okay. So we know that knowing something isn't yes or no or black and white anymore. What do we do with that information? Use it to be kind to yourself when you're learning. It takes time to be able to recall stuff. You're not going to remember it immediately. There's been so many days where I just learned, say, 20 new words, and I didn't remember any of them the next day. But I kept, coming back to my flashcard system, my spaced repetition system, and I learned them because that's just how humans work. But especially to be able to use it in a conversation, you really need to know it. So don't worry about that too much, especially at the start. If you're having a bad day with your flashcards, there's a trick. Just spam good. It does not matter. You'll see it again. It'll be fine. And if any of your words or flashcards, anything, feel even just a little familiar to you, hit good. It's okay. You're going to see it again. It's not a big deal. Go use the extra time that you're saving from your flashcards. Put that time into native materials. Go play a game, go read a book, go watch a YouTube video in Japanese. Do whatever you want to do that's more fun and gets you exposure in a lot of more different contexts. Something important to remember is that there's a lot of concepts in Japanese that you just kind of can't wrap your head around until you've seen enough Japanese. So don't worry about going really deep into like this small area. Worry about going wide and really expand your knowledge of Japanese before you dive too deep into something, because then your brain will be more ready to process that. And that's another reason I recommend Native Shark so much. It constantly builds on your current knowledge and will show you words you know in new contexts to help you recall more things when you're out actually in the wild, instead of just learn them in that single flashcard context and then forget about it, which is different from an Anki deck. So for example, if we have that single vocab, single word, maybe they don't even have audio on it, it's not going to do so great. Please don't use that at least. A less bad Anki deck will give you a sentence and then hopefully some audio, but maybe that audio will be a robot, not so great. Or someone recording for a Japanese learner, so they're going to slow it down. They're not going to speak naturally. Also not so great. Or at least that's been my experience with them. And I haven't seen any others that go against that, which is why I just straight out recommend Native Shark all the time. So bottom line, when you can't recall a word, look it up again and stop beating yourself up for learning. It's all part of the process. You're going to be all right. If you want to know how long Japanese is actually going to take to learn, go check out this video here. And thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.